morning in many parts of the world as well. Great to be here. This morning or this evening rather, we have super serial entrepreneur and a cybersecurity guru with us, none other than Jay Chaudhary. Love to have Jay on stage. He and I are both, as you know, in California, and it's only 5:15 in the morning. Good morning, Jay.
Amar, good morning, rather good afternoon or good evening.
Absolutely. There have been, I think, 40 countries, people from 40 countries dialed in for this session and over 5,000 people online. So great to have you here. I'm going to focus on two things with you since we have 20 minutes and it's going to be a fast-packed, action-packed session. So first of all, you're a super serial entrepreneur. I think you've started 4 or 5 companies. It's hard to keep track of these companies. So that's one. And the second thing is we'll get into cybersecurity, especially relevant to today's world as well. But what was your passion? How did you even think of becoming an entrepreneur? What led you to start your first company?
Yeah, coming from a small scale farming family, I had no entrepreneurship in my background. I followed the typical Indian path, become an engineer, came to the US, did my master's, started working for software companies. Then in mid-90s, I started to read about the web browser. Netscape went public. I was reading, what is this cool thing? I read everything about Netscape. I read everything about startups, and I fell in love with it. And that simply led me to entrepreneurship. So I believe you become what you think about, what you read, what you dream of. And that's really what took me to starting companies.
And your first one was a security company, I believe, right? Secure IT?
That's correct.
So what was the premise behind that, and how did you even get money to get started?
I did not. I failed to get money. That was the biggest and the best gamble of my life. Yes, so sitting in Atlanta, reading about various areas, what should I do a startup in? I had background from IBM in direct selling to enterprises. And I always like to do something different, differentiated. I never wanted to sell by building something me too. Security was a brand new area, and there's no one who really did security. And since I didn't get much money, I couldn't start a product company, but I could start a services company. So Secure IT was a services company, design, architect, sell, deploy, support firewalls, VPNs, and the like. And thankfully, my wife supported me because I said, since we're not getting any money, if either we don't do a startup or we put our life savings on the line and do it. And she said, great, let's do it. And the rest became history.
Fantastic. And I know you've had the art of the exit. I believe your first 3 companies you sold to other entities like VeriSign and USI and Motorola. So what is the secret behind starting bootstrapping a company, but then finding a buyer for the company? What were they by accident? Did you orchestrate it? What was the thoughts behind each one of these exits?
Yeah, so the first company, Secure IT, right? The timing was right, team was great, we worked hard, so revenue started to happen rapidly, and everyone started to come and approach us. The best way to sell a company is when you don't want to sell a company, but others want to buy it, right? So the demand was good, and we kept on saying no, and eventually someone offered enough money, we said yes. So I think the key is if you're trying to sell a company, it gets hard. It's like when you're trying to raise money desperately, it's hard, right? They say raise money when you don't need money, right? If you are really desperate to sell, it doesn't work. I think focus on your business to grow your customers, you grow your sales. If you're strong, being able to sell becomes an option. That's how I always looked at it. Actually, I sold 4 companies. So after Secure IT, the next 3 was where we had good partnership with some of the larger companies. Once you have a partnership, and sometimes a large vendor depends upon you quite a bit, they want you. In fact, that became the case with air defense. Motorola had bought Symbol Technologies that are selling wireless networks, and we were the go-to partner for them to embed security in their wireless labs. So we were a very important part of it to the degree where they really thought that they couldn't do without it. So they kept on trying to come and buy us. We kept on saying no. And eventually it became a good deal and we said yes. So align with the right partner who is synergistic to what you offer and keep on growing your sales, keep on building the solution. You got to have good products, you got to have good sales. Rest gets taken care of.
No, that's truly amazing. So you did, and I believe your fourth company, Cipher Trust, you took it public first, right? And then you merged it?
No,
Or
we were about to go public.
public,
Okay.
yeah.
When it merged because we found a party who really wanted us.
So that was a different kind of exit. You were getting ready to go public when someone comes in and says, "You're too valuable to
Right.
me, and let's sit down and talk."
Right.
So
But
how did
that's
that
what,
turn out?
sorry.
How did that experience turn out?
It was fine. It just didn't work out the way I wanted. I thought we are trying to merge and create a massive security company. What I found was the management team in that company was kind of not really progressive, thinking that they're doing extremely well. To me, the definition of extremely well was very different than theirs.
Yeah.
So that kind of gave me a little bit of a feeling that if I leave and do a startup with a clean slate, probably I can grow faster and become a bigger company than staying here. That's what I did.
No, that's great. And those first four companies were in Atlanta, right?
That's
And
right.
then
That's where I lived.
that's where you lived. And then you moved to Silicon Valley. So that was what made that happen. And how did you come here? How did you set up Zscaler? Talk us through that.
Yes. So when I did the first company, it happened so well, so fast. It was like, wow, it must be a fluke. Nothing went wrong. Everything just went right. I wanted to prove to myself that startups can be done again. And I also wanted to climb a bigger mountain. And that's what led me to create three companies, literally, because this time I had more money than I could invest in one startup. So I said, let's do multiple startups, but do it like having kids. You stagger them 1 or 2 or 3 years apart. That's how they were staggered. But once all three became successful and we had good exits, the next thing was, I don't want to do a startup and flip it. There's no interest in it. Let's do something big. Let's do something lasting. Let's fix some of the things in the industry. Since I knew about security so well, so I kind of looked at the security market, fragmented with so many point products, and security still being an issue. So I said, let's do security. But what kind of security? I want to look into the future and see and build something for the long term. So I had 3 or 4 simple questions. Will internet become the biggest source of information? Yes. I was using Salesforce and NetSuite since year 2001, when each was less than 10 million in annual sales. Will more applications become SaaS? I had conviction that they will. Will we become more mobile? How could you say no? And then will there be a cybersecurity issues? I knew they were, so I said yes. So if that was the case, why shouldn't you do security in the cloud? So learning from Salesforce, I built a cloud-native multi-tenant security platform. And since I invested in it, right after my first startup, well, I invested in all of my startups. The first one, I had no choice. The other 4, I had a choice. And when you spend your own money, you can really follow your convictions. So I decided to really do anything and everything that could be done to build a real scalable platform. That's how Zscaler was born.
No, That's a phenomenal story. So tell me the hard stuff. You've told me the successful stuff. Where did you think you failed? Did you
Yeah.
actually have to potentially not meet payroll once and you were dreading it? Take us through some of the hard
Yeah.
times in these companies.
Yeah. Before I answer that, sorry, the first other part of your question was why in the Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
The team I came across to build a highly scalable platform that can inspect massive amount of traffic flowing through the network for security and inspection. That team happened to be in the Silicon Valley. They came from a company called NetScaler, which
Uh-huh.
has built very scalable load balancers. So I said I will be where the team is. So that moved me to the valley.
Great.
Now you don't have to be in the valley. Okay. In fact, probably there's a little bit too much sense of entitlement in the valley. So I try to hire as many people outside the valley as I can. For Zscaler, I decided to build this very strong team in India. So we started the India office before actually we started the Silicon Valley office for Zscaler. Okay. And then also, since I could sense the sense of entitlement in Bangalore as well, I said, I'm going to hire people outside Bangalore as well because, gee, they're hungry, they work hard, they're not kind of trying to say, I go next door, I find another company for a job. So we opened a second office in Chandigarh. Okay. So we have 1,000 people between Chandigarh and Bangalore in India. Now we have an office in Pune and opening an office in Hyderabad. So we really, truly are doing as much stuff in India as can be done because there's some great engineers, there are great people in finance and everything there. Now, the second question you asked about what was the hard stuff. You know, I was funding it, I was hiring it right. Okay, when you spend your own money, okay, you think twice. Okay, as compared to you raise a VC round of 40 million, no matter how you say, people go, they got a 40,000 square foot office space, mahogany desks, and all this stuff. So we really focus on spending money the right way. So the product side came along extremely well. Our challenge was the biggest lessons I learned on the sales side. Okay. Since in my previous companies, I was selling through VARs, okay, to techies. Security is generally bought by techies. And what we are doing at Zscaler was very transformational. There's no box you can put your arms around. Okay. It eliminates the needs of lots and lots of boxes. So a lot of these techies will say, if I deployed Zscaler, what will I do? Okay. So we had to learn and figure out and then start focusing on the C level because we were enabling transformation to the cloud. If you embrace cloud, you needed Zscaler. So we start selling to CIOs, CISOs, head of infrastructure. So probably had I figured that out a little sooner, we would have been probably a lot bigger today than a couple of years we wasted trying to sell to techies.
No, that's a good one. And now, coming to cybersecurity, you've done so much work in this, right? You are the go-to expert, and today you see all kinds of infiltration, all kinds of attacks. So, tell us a little bit. What is the world going to look like in the next 5 years, and how do you protect all of us as citizens, as individuals, as companies, as governments? What are you looking at?
Yeah, I believe, first of all, we're all learning, okay, every day, okay. Second, I think there's so much inertia out there, and entrepreneurs try to do the same way things are being done, 20% better. My mousetrap is a little better than it used to be. I think where we are with cloud mobility, the traditional notion of creating a security moat around your castle is dead. So people who keep on building perimeter, it's you're in and you are out, they'll never succeed. Zscaler doesn't even do network security, so-called securing your network, because internet has become your network. Cloud has become your data center. There's no place to put walls and firewalls in the cloud. Okay. So we are literally like an electronics exchange. We are like a switchboard. A user comes to us, we validate who you are, we look at the business policy, and we connect the user to the right application. There's no such thing as insider and outsider. That's the biggest thing we've done. I think when there are big mega changes out there, you need to think outside the box. The solution needs to be very different. Too many entrepreneurs make the mistake that what they're building is like this big company called Cisco or Checkpoint, but it's 30% better. That's not good. The other company can make it 30% better too. It's a matter of time. You can't compete on price either. So you got to have a longer lasting differentiation to succeed. If your runway is only 12 to 18 months before the big guys can try to copy your idea, then you'll have a tough time. But if you are creating something that's fundamentally different from architecture and the way you solve it, then it's different. Two simple examples. DVD players are wonderful. You could keep on building better and better DVD players. Or you could do what Netflix did, built a cloud native streaming service. They had a big edge, and the big guys kept on thinking about DVD players. Look at Tesla versus other cars. Both cars will take you from place A to B. But Tesla thought outside the box. They came with something very different that the big guys couldn't just copy and catch.
No, that's phenomenal. And so if you're an entrepreneur, we have lots of international attendees viewing this session. What would you tell an entrepreneur in India or Sri Lanka or any of those countries today? You know, if they're going to start something, how should they view it? I know you said it shouldn't be incremental difference. It has to be more exponential differences and so forth. How would you look at it if you're in one of those countries starting a company today?
So first of all, I think a mindset. I like to say, if you are trying to do a startup to get rich quick, you'll be disappointed. Okay. Yes, you may hear stories of WhatsApp here and there, but for every WhatsApp, there are 1,000 hardships facing companies. So you need to be ready for the long haul. You need to really have conviction and perseverance to drive through it. Now, that only happens if you have true conviction. And conviction only comes if you know your stuff. So having some level of domain expertise is fundamental. If you recall the 2000 timeframe .com era, everyone wanted to start a company in whatever area. They could barely spell out the area, but they wanted to do a startup. Things don't happen. You need to learn, get deeper, build conviction, and be there for the long run. And that's fundamental to success, no matter what area you do a startup with. And having a brilliant team, the first 2-3 key members who are sharp, who are driven, who are thinking like you, that's the starting point.
No, that's phenomenal. And one question for you, Jay. I mean, and your story now, Zscaler was not an overnight success. I think you went public after what, 12 years?
10 years.
10 years. Okay. So it's a long cycle. It's not get rich quick, like you said, right?
Yeah, but 10 years is average for a company to go public in the Valley. 10 years is not unusual. So I'm saying if you aren't, most of the IPOs, it's about 8 to 11 years is typical. Most companies going public and doing well. Actually, quite often, right. If you went public too soon, you are not doing a good thing for the company.
And you know, with success comes a lot of responsibility. You're on the Forbes list. You know, high profile individual now. What is your view of giving back? What are you thinking long term for yourself as to how you play that philanthropy side of your life?
Yeah, you know, whatever I am, what I hope to be, it's all because of education. I happen to be in love with education from very early on. Otherwise, coming from this tiny village in the foothill of Himalayas with 800 people, no running water, no electricity, how could I ever dream that I could be here? It's all education. And you know, in India, education is literally free. IITs, when I went to PHU IIT, my tuition fee was nothing. I mean, everything was literally free. Anyone could afford it at that time. So my next startup idea is to do a non-profit startup. where we want to really make education highly interactive, engaging, audio, video available to anyone, literally with an Android tablet or any tablet and internet connection. I believe they'll have more impact on the lives of human beings, people, than anything else. Also, I'm a big fan of Bill Gates. There are many entrepreneurs who give back, but his giving back is special. He's running it like a business. He's making a difference. He's driving it. And those are some of my dreams that I want to pursue next.
Great. No, that's terrific. We look forward to that. But we have a couple of questions here, Jay. One is from an entrepreneur who says, you know the Indian ecosystem. What are some of the changes you can recommend to make it thriving like the Silicon Valley ecosystem? What changes would you make in that regard?
I'm not too close to the startup system in India, but I think success breeds success. As a few startup companies start, the word starts getting around. We all start looking at it. So there used to be an issue of money not being available. I do believe that money is becoming far more available in India. I think we just need to really pursue some serious ideas to solve some serious problems. I think India has amazing talent. In fact, I have a rule in Zscaler. If you only hire in the US, if you can't hire in India, okay. But there's some great engineers. So I think as we are seeing so many good successes in India, it'll take some time, but it's bound to happen. So many success stories, because we all look up to those success stories. And I think it's also the mindset. When I used to look at India, there's too much mindset of people saying, oh, working for government job is a great job. It's like, come on, right? And working with big companies. When I used to hire people in Bangalore, this one guy said, my dad thinks that if you work for IBM, they'll think of much better than you work for Zscaler. You'll get a better wife, all that stuff. I said, it's all nonsense. Hopefully all of that is changing. People need to believe that you can work. I have 1,000 people in India now. They all think and dream of young startup company with stock options and all that stuff. They're willing to work hard, make a big difference. So I don't think anything happens overnight, but as we do successes, we work hard. I think the biggest thing is working hard and smart. Don't look for any shortcuts.
Great. Jay, you've been such a source of inspiration to us, and you've given us so much good advice and gyan today. I really want to thank you for being here at NPC, and we look forward to having you back in the future to see where the life journey takes you. So thank you so much.
Amar, thank you for the opportunity. I wish the best of luck to all the Indian entrepreneurs or other entrepreneurs around the globe. Thank you.